I'd like to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope that you'll enjoy this special presentation. As you already know, it's being taped, and from time to time we may have to stop. And we pardon ourselves for that interruption, and we hope that you're all right with that, and if not, we'll be happy to give you a refund. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you an amazing individual. Long before he came to Laughlin in 1985, Forbes magazine called him an indefatigable promoter. In 1998, Forbes magazine said he turned a simple retail operation into one hell of a sideshow. He's hard to miss. Money magazine said that for his marketing skills, his face should be on a monument. The trade publication's Advertising Age said he was the master of marketing skills. The Hollywood Reporter went one step further and called him a man of destiny. He has started and operated over 100 businesses. Currently, you see him all over Laughlin and in the area as the Watchman. Recently, news correspondent Bill Geist said on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather, if there were a P.T. Barnum of selling watches, it would be Ray Lindstrom. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, one of America's leading entrepreneurs, Ray Lindstrom.
Well, gee, that was so nice, so nice. Gosh, you say so many nice things about me. You know, I had a few days ago, we had some people in the store. They were Indians from Parker, Arizona. And in Parker, Arizona, they lived on an Indian reservation and they couldn't get cable television, so they only got one television station, the station in Kingman. And of course, if you ever watch a station in Kingman, you know that I'm on that television station about every 10 minutes, you know. And I mean, they've been watching this television station for years. So when I came in the store, I was the first celebrity that they'd ever seen in their lives, you know, where they'd seen him on television and they saw him in person. It was amazing, you know. And they just thought this was the greatest thing in the world because they just had never seen anybody who'd been on television before, and so they were taking pictures of me, and they wanted my autograph and everything, and you know, and I wanted to say, well, you know, it's really kind of silly, you know, just because I paid $2 for a TV commercial and go on television, that doesn't exactly make me a celebrity, but you know, I did everything that they wanted to do, and then afterwards I was thinking about, you know, I was thinking about celebrity. What an interesting concept it is. You know, we're so excited about celebrities these days, and if there was actually a scale of celebrities. If there was a scale of celebrities, now, you know, let's say a worldwide scale. I always kind of like this, you know, up at the top here, right? Who would you have at the top? Well, you'd have like the Pope, the greatest celebrity of all time, right? And the President of the United States would be at the top. And then you'd have probably Michael Jordan, he'd be at the top too. And then you'd have some great movie stars underneath there. You know, you'd have Robert De Niro, and you'd have Sharon Stone, and then down below here you'd have some old rock and roll stars. You know, you'd have maybe Freddie Fender would be down here, and then you go down here, and then you find people that pay to be on television. You know, like that pay to be on national television. Like this would be Dave Thomas from Wendy's down here, right? And then right here at the very, very bottom would be the guy in Laughlin, Nevada, who pays $2 to be on television, right? That is folks, the lowest form of celebrity, and here he is right here for you. You know, I am the Watchman, and everybody kind of knows that. But you know, actually, the more I think about it, I am really, in fact, not the Watchman, even though you know me for selling watches. And people, they see me in the casino or wherever around town, and they see me, and they want to talk to me about their watches, and they'll show me the watch that they bought, or they'll show me the watch that their dad gave me and everything. And people, they ask me, well, somebody asked me the other day, what do you know about watches? You know what I know about watches? I know how to sell watches. That's most primarily I know. But instead of the Watchman, I should be known as the BS man. Now wait a minute, I know you're all saying, boy, ain't that the truth. The business starter man, because in fact, what I have done, and I just discovered this over the last 40 years, what I have done is I've started businesses. You know me from the watch business, and so many people think that I've been in the watch business all my life. Maybe, this is something that my dad started, and so therefore he kind of trained me when I was a little kid, and now all of a sudden, now that I'm grown up, I know the watch business. But as a matter of fact, I've been in just all kinds of different businesses. I've been in the book business. I've been in oil painting business. I had an advertising agency. Just lots of things. And I've learned a lot of things along the way. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this tonight, is so that my partner, Mac, and I can just show you a few of the things that we have learned over the years. Now, this is not technical stuff. This is not from the Harvard Business School. It's not about anything fancy. It's just little things that we have learned, and I hope that I'll be able to pass a few of these things on to you. It's not Harvard Business School, although I can't, and it's something you don't need an education for. Now, I would like to say that, I did go to college. I went to college at the University of Arizona in Tucson, and I can honestly say that I really never learned anything there that got me into business, that was important for business. Everything I really learned, I learned just being out here and discovering these various things. But it was nice going to the U of A, although I did learn one thing at the U of A, and that was that Menelaus had a red beard. I don't even know who Menelaus was, but by God, when I got my diploma, I knew that Menelaus had a red beard. And I also have a good team to root for at the U of A, too. Anyway, the things you need to know to get into business for yourself are not things that come from your head. They're things that come from your heart and whether you have a stomach for it. So it's a different part of the body than you may think of. And I love people who have made something out of nothing. And of course, Laughlin and this entire casino is an example of that. When Don Laughlin came here in 1966, there was nothing here. He bought an old rundown 8-room motel and turned it into this fabulous casino, and he started the town of Laughlin, as most of you know. He started and made something out of nothing. A lot of people have done this. Bill Gates did it. He's a multi-billionaire. A lot of people didn't do it. A lot of people started with money, and it's nice what they've done with the money, but I don't have quite the same respect for a Donald Trump who started out with $20 million and now he's got $200 million. Starting out with $20 million, that's, you've got quite a leg up when that happens. But things have really changed a lot over the years. And businesses are not the same as they were when I started 40 years ago. Everything seems to be a lot bigger now than it was then. The technology is certainly a lot different. You've got the internet now, which is a real big thing. It's not really harder to go into business for yourself. It's just maybe a little bit different. And yet I hear people say all the time, especially these old geezers who've never gone into business for themselves, who just really want an excuse for not going into business. Well, you can't go into business these days because of the government. Yeah, they got so damn many rules and regulations, and then they want to tax everything you make. Phooey. All it is, those are just excuses. It's never been easy to go into business, or it's never been hard to go into business. It just depends on how you look at it. But right now, I would like to tell you a story about one of my favorite persons. A person by the name of CJ, and I want you to listen to this. CJ was born in a one-room shack during a horrible depression. CJ had absolutely no education. CJ married young, spouse died. CJ was left with a child, had to raise, made a meager living. CJ made a meager living doing laundry for 20 years, just laundry. During CJ's spare time, however, came up with an idea for a product, a new product, and a new way to sell it. And 13 years later, CJ, despite the fact, no education, nothing that you would expect to have from somebody who was very successful, became a millionaire. CJ was a millionaire. Now, that's a very nice story, and everybody likes that because, everybody loves a real rags to riches story. But let's look at this just a little bit further if we could. First of all, CJ was a very unusual person because her real name was CJ Walker. This is CJ Walker right here. CJ was a black woman in Mississippi in 1867. She was born 2 years after the Civil War. She had absolutely no education. She had no job. She had to take laundry into her home to make a living. Her husband dies, she raises a child alone. But she's got an idea. She says, you know, all these black ladies want hair care products. You know, it's after the Civil War, and now they can buy hair care products. So she had an idea to come up with a hair care product. But you know what? She created it. She could not even walk into a drugstore where she lived to sell it to the drugstore owner so that he could sell it to the customers. Her customers couldn't even walk into the drugstore. But you know what? That didn't stop her. I mean, could you imagine the incredible odds of this lady, this wonderful lady? She could not even sell her products. So she says, I'm not going to let that stop me. She recruited ladies. She recruited African-American ladies to go out door to door and sell her products. And because of that, she became the first self-made woman millionaire in this country. It wasn't a white woman. It was a black woman after the Civil War with no education, no connections. She had nothing but the desire to get ahead. Now, there were other women millionaires, but you know what their last names were: Vanderbilt, Rockefeller. This is her, and that's why tonight's presentation is dedicated to C.J. Walker, who wouldn't quit. And I'm going to put her picture on the wall back here. And then I have privileged white men tell me, you can't make it in America anymore. Boy, ridiculous. But you know, she's a millionaire, and there are a lot of self-made millionaires. But you know, the fact of the matter is, it's not about money. You know, I'm going to tell you another story. I go to Los Angeles a lot to buy watches. And I go to downtown Los Angeles in a real horrible neighborhood, you know, and while you're down there you hear gunshots and there are odd people walking around begging money, and it's just a horrible place. And one of my suppliers is down there. And every day about noon, this lady comes in and she's pushing a cart. You know, she's pushing that cart, and it's full of vegetables and fruits and everything. And by gosh, she's always real happy and everything. And I always buy a couple of bananas or something from her. And she's just real happy, you know. And she's in business for herself. She's got her own business. She loves it. She makes a living at it. She hardly speaks English, but by God, she's out there every day. She's selling that fruit. Wonderful. Then I hear stories about the guy who's the president of the Disney Corporation, Michael Eisner. What did I read the other day? Made $40 million in 1 year. Wow, that's a lot of money. But you want to know what? You know, now here's a little lady. She's pushing that cart, and she's selling fruit. Then there's Michael Eisner. He's making $40 million working as president of Disney. Who's better off? I say the lady selling the fruit is. Now, you can say that I'm nuts, but I'll tell you what. She's independent. She goes to work when she wants to go to work. She doesn't have any bosses. Michael Eisner has bosses. Oh, he makes a lot of money. But it's not about money, folks. It's not about money. It's about independence. It's about freedom. It's about enjoyment. It's about achievement. It's about security. That's what it's about. Michael Eisner can get fired tomorrow. Nobody can fire that lady selling the fruit. You know that? Michael Eisner be gone. Now, you know, you'll say, hey, but he made $40 million. But I'm telling you what, folks, I've been rich and I've been poor, and it's not about money. Now, I say it's about security. People say, security? My gosh, what you mean going out and starting these businesses, that's some kind of security? Well, I'll tell you what, you know, maybe a few years ago, it used to be that a person could go and get a job and stay in a job for 40 years and go to work for a Sears or an AT&T or somebody like that. But you know what? That's not true anymore. Because all people care about is the bottom line and making the stockholders happy. And so therefore, when the people start turning 40, they want to get rid of them all and hire the 20-year-olds because they'll work for less. It's just a fact of life. That's the way it is. There used to be loyalty going both ways. There is no loyalty anymore. And besides, loyalty to what? You know what a corporation is? It's a piece of paper in a drawer somewhere. Loyalty to a piece of paper in a drawer? Used to be, you know, you'd be loyal to people. It's not that way anymore. So, you know, there's really no security in working for somebody. The owner decides to sell out, you get a new boss, there's bankruptcy, downsizing, they decide to make their products in China. You know, there's just a million reasons. Your boss gets up on the wrong side of the bed and says, I don't like that guy anymore, you know. Doesn't have enough hair on his head. What happens? You know, get rid of him. Boy, I'd be in trouble there too, you know. So, you know, it's security. It comes from within. My dad, he was the manager of the Duval copper mine down in Tucson. And he was there for 20 years, and the company, the Duval Corporation, said, we'd like you to go and open up an office in Belgium. This is when he was 60 years old. He went to Belgium, opened up an office for them, did a real fine job. 3 years later, they said, come on back to this country now. You're all done over there. He says, fine. He gets back here. They say, well, we don't have any more work for you. Goodbye. That's it, you know. Here he is, and he's in his early 60s, not ready to retire, but they're done with him. He's served their purpose, and that's a tragedy. You know, folks, this is your life. It's all you've got. We spend 80,000 hours working. 80,000 hours working, you know. My ex-father-in-law, I remember the day he retired, he told me, he said, Ray, he said, I'm retired today. I went to that job for 40 years and I hated every day of it. What a tragedy! Hated every day of it. It's awful. Now, you know, there's nothing wrong with working for somebody, and a lot of people like to work for somebody else. Matter of fact, most people do. You know, 90% of the people, 90% of the people probably work for somebody else, okay? And they're happy with it. Then there are another 5%, they work for somebody else, but they're really not that happy with it. They would really like to have a business of their own. Maybe some of you are in that situation. Then there's the other 5% that own their own business. Well, not all 5%, because actually I say 5% of this entire group up here are people that don't work for anybody. So that includes not only business owners, but homeless bums too. Now, you know, this is our life, you know, 80,000 hours, and you got to be happy. Some people are happy working for others. Some people aren't. And if you're not, then you have to make some changes. And I know that I've been, unfortunately, you know, it's a funny thing. I was an only child, and I was pretty spoiled, okay? And that one of the problems for me working with somebody is I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. And that's why at one point in my life I just decided I was not going to work for anybody anymore. And that was the motivational factor for me. It really wasn't money. It was the fact that I just wanted to be my own boss. If you do want more and you have an interest in some of the things that I've learned over the years, then let me tell you about the Watchman's Baker's Dozen. I'm going to give you 13 things that I think are really important when you're going into business for yourself, of which the first 2 are the very most important. Now, number 1 is don't underestimate yourself. Don't underestimate yourself. You say, I have no education, I have no money, I have no connections. Well, do you think that C.J. Walker had any of that at all? Of course not. I'm going to show you what you need to know to go into business right now. It's this simple. It is so simple. So simple. It's unbelievable. This is my course in how to go into business. This is one example right here, okay? You buy something for $0.25. You sell it for $1. Everybody with me so far? You make 75 cents. Now, you got to make sure that what it takes you to sell the product isn't more than 75 cents, and that's your profit. You don't have to go to Harvard Business School to learn that. That's what business is. Right there, just that simple. You buy something for $0.25, you sell it for $1, and you make 75 cents. How tough is that? It's not very tough at all. And yet people want to make business much more complicated than it really is. You know, our story here, the watch story, you know, like I said before, people think that I've been in the watch business for a long time. The fact of the matter is that we've been in the watch business here for 6 years. 7 years ago, I owned one watch. Today, I own about 40,000 of them. You know, but I did not know anything about the watch business. I went to, but it all started, and I couldn't believe it. It actually started 40 years ago. The first business I was ever in was 40 years ago. And I just went to my high school graduation 40th reunion, just about a month ago. And I had a business in high school. And I was in high school. We were the first rock and roll generation, you know. When I first started high school in 1955, the #1 best-selling record on the charts was Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and the Comets. So I was the first rock and roll generation. We were the first kids. Now look at this kid, right? You know, Mick Jagger, the Beach Boys are my age, you know. We were the first ones that our parents yelled at us, saying, "What are you listening to that garbage for?" Right? We were the first ones. Okay. When I was a senior in high school, I wanted to own a record company, and I would go down and I would buy Billboard magazine, which is like the Bible of the record industry. And there was a little ad in the back of in the back there, and it said, "Custom record pressing. Have 45 RPM records made. Call Sidney J. Wakefield, Phoenix, Arizona." And you know, this was, I mean, you talk to 18-year-old kids today, and they've never seen a 45 RPM record. But you know, in my era, that's what we had. We had 45s. You know, they cost $1. You went on the store and buy them. Well, I wanted to make those records, and I wanted to have stars, and I wanted to be on American Bandstand with I didn't want to be the star. I wanted to be the producer, and I wanted to make the record. So, but how do I do that? Here I am, a 17-year-old kid, you know. Well, I asked questions, you know. It doesn't take a genius to ask questions. So whatever you want to know about a business, you ask questions. I called that little ad, that Sidney J. Wakefield. I was living in Tucson at the time. I called that, and I said, "Mr. Wakefield, this is Ray Lindstrom. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and I want to make a record. Could you tell me how to do that exactly?" He spent about 10 minutes explaining to me how the process was done. I went out, I got a band together, and we went out and we made a record. And then we made another record. And I took the record out, and I made maybe 300 or 400 copies of it. I would get the local radio stations to play it, and I would sell it to the record stores. Well, this isn't so complicated, you know. You don't have to be RCA Victor or Columbia. It was just a simple thing. And I did that. And we put out about 6 or 7 records, and then we all disbanded and went to college. You know, it was one of those things. But you know, I learned that, but I just asked. I just asked questions. Now you go ahead 34 years, okay? Now, in the meantime, I'm doing all these other businesses that I don't know anything about these businesses. And I go ahead 34 years. And now I'm in Laughlin, Nevada. I own some radio stations over across the river, and I'm saying to myself, I don't like this business. I want to get into another business. I want to get into the kind of business that I know. I want to get into selling products, selling some kind of a product. So what I did was, I happened to see an ad for a watch sale in Phoenix, and I went to it, and I saw a whole bunch of people, and they were buying these watches and everything, and they were inexpensive watches, and I thought, I bet you I could sell watches, you know. So then there was a merchandise show in Las Vegas, and I went to the merchandise show. And I would go to various booths that sold wholesale watches wholesale. And I would go to the guy and I would say, I'm thinking about getting in the watch business. Could you explain to me how I do this? I want to buy watches. What kind of watches do I buy? How much do they cost? I don't know anything about it, see? And about the first 6 people that I went to didn't have time for me, because they thought I was just a flake, you know, not going to amount to anything in this business, just want to waste their time with a bunch of ridiculous questions, okay? About the 7th time, I found a fellow, he was a Pakistani guy by the name of Ajaz Ramzan, and he said, "Oh, Ray, my gosh, you know, I'm so happy to see you. Yeah, I'll tell you all about the watch business. I'll show you which ones to buy and what the prices are, and I'll just take real good care of you." Well, of course, since that time, I bought about $8 million worth of watches from him. And the other people who wouldn't talk to me now are trying to get my business. But that's another story. But the fact of the matter is, I learned by just asking questions. I didn't know anything about the watch business. So that's what you do. You ask questions and you learn quickly. Now, that's only because I don't have any knowledge. Now, maybe some of you already know how to do something. You're better off than I am. Maybe you know how to do welding, or you know how to fix cars, or you know how to do hair, or something like that. See, I don't know any of that stuff. So I'm really at a disadvantage, just because I'm totally skillless, you know, see? So if you have a skill, you're way ahead of me. So, number 1, don't underestimate yourself. Number 2, of equal importance, make a commitment, okay? You know, we make a commitment every day to various things, and we do it in our lives, you know? We do it for marriage. We do it when we have kids. We do it for a home mortgage. You know, you don't go into marriage thinking, well, you know, hey, I'll give it a try, and if it doesn't work, I can always get a divorce, right? I mean, what kind of success are you going to have? What's going to happen there, right? You have kids. Well, yeah, we'll have a couple of kids. If they don't work out, we'll ship them to an orphanage. Home mortgage. Oh, that's a good one, yeah. Well, you know, we'll pay for a few months, and then maybe we'll decide we don't want to pay, and then, well, they'll come take your home is what'll happen. Billy Graham, you know, he doesn't say, well, come on up on stage, folks, and, you know, I want you to make a commitment here, and, well, if it doesn't work out, you know, you can always go back to the devil. No, he doesn't say that. And in AA, we say half measures don't work. They don't work. You either do it all the way or you don't do it at all. So if you say, if you're thinking about going into business for yourself, if you say, I'll keep my job and I'll do this on the side, if you say, oh, I can always get a job again if it fails, that's just like saying you're going to, I'll get married I'll get a divorce if the marriage doesn't work. Or if you say, I'll try it for a year, forget it. It's not going to work because you haven't made a commitment. Now, it's not a commitment for anything, for an idea or any particular product. It's an idea to always work for yourself. It's a commitment to always work for yourself. That's a commitment that you have to make. And you have to say, I'll never work for anybody else but myself ever. I'll never work for anybody else but myself ever. A few years ago, I was offered a job. And I'm not trying to sound, well, maybe I am trying to sound. I don't know. I was offered a job for $1 million a year running a company in California. I wouldn't take it because it was a job. And I had made a commitment that I would never, under any circumstances, go to work for anybody. Somebody, well, gee, if I could just get $1 million, I'd live on the interest. Oh, yeah, try that sometime. You have $1 million, believe me, there's no such thing as living on the interest. Okay, so number two, we know what number one is. I told you what number one is. Don't underestimate yourself. Number two is make a commitment, okay? Now I'm going to tell you a few other things that are important, but not as important as those two things right there. Number three, you can achieve great success by only being right 10% of the time. That's right, 10% of the time. Now, you see our watch business downstairs. And maybe you've heard about the fact that I was in the infomercial business and did real well in that business. And I also was in the 900 number business. Mac and we had an advertising agency in Phoenix that in the 70s, which was pretty good. But I want to tell you, you don't have any idea of the other businesses that I had that failed, because you only heard about the good ones. You don't know about the bad ones. And there were lots of them. But you know what? Didn't bother me a bit. It bothers some people. Now here is the deal where I was talking about earlier, the difference between do you have the stomach for it or not. Some people refuse to walk away from a business because they feel like they failed personally. And I never felt that way. I never felt that way. And you can't feel that way, because if you feel that way, you'll be back working for somebody else right away. Because you can't take it personal if your business fails, because you've got to expect failure. 90% of what I've done has been a failure. 90% has failed. Failed, I tell you, failed. So I'm just going to show you. Here's how it works by being right 10% of the time, and it's a very, very simple deal. I'm going to show you over here. First business you go into. First business, what are you going to sell? Who knows? Something that nobody wants, okay? But anyway, you invest $1,000, okay? Fail. Oh, lost $1,000. Next business you go into. Another product nobody wants, crocheted bathtubs, okay? Put $1,000 in, you fail. Next business you go into. You're going to sell butch wax in the 50s. Oh man, nobody wants butch wax anymore. That was the 60s. They all got long hair. Whoop, that fails. That's no good. Next business. I should mention some of the ones that I've been in. Had a business called Today in Japan newspaper for Japanese tourists. That failed. Lost another $1,000. Okay, but anyway, you go through and you lose. You've been through 9 businesses, folks. 9 businesses, and you lost $9,000. Wow. I mean, you're getting pretty discouraged about it now, aren't you? No, you're not. Hey, you're just waiting for that big hit. 9 businesses, $9,000. Now, this 9 businesses could be $900. Maybe you only put $100 in each business if you were real smart. Maybe you put $10,000 into each business, and maybe this figure is $90,000. Oh, but then you're up there at that 10th business, see? You get that 10th business. Now, you got to remember that these businesses, you were in here, you lost, you got out right away, okay? You were out in a month. It was bingo, you were gone. You did another business, you were out in a month, it didn't work. A month. Okay, now you're getting toward the end of the year here. See, you do things, you got to do these fast. You can't waste time. Okay, so anyway, you're in your 10th business. You're in your 10th business, and wow, it's the watch business in Laughlin, Nevada. Ho ho! The people want what you got, let me tell you. Okay, well, now, how long will this last? These lasted 9 months. and took $90,000. But this last one, you do it today, you do it tomorrow, you do it next month, you do it next year, you do it next decade, so it just goes on and on and on. Because you see, your failures are fast. You're in and you're out. You say it doesn't work, goodbye, I'm out of here, goodbye, so long, sayonara. But boy, when you got a hit, one day it's a hit, the next day it's a hit, the next week it's a hit, the next month. It's going on forever practically, you know? Now, maybe it's one of those faddish type businesses. Maybe people will quit wearing watches next year, you know? But hey, we had a good 6-year run, not bad. Then we'll start selling something else. But that's it. 1 out of every 10. You succeed 1 out of every 10 times because you got to get in and you got to get out. And you want to know what? I don't care how prophetic you are, you never know. When you go into a business, how many times have people told me, I got a deal for you, you can't lose on this one? How many times have I heard that one, right? I got a deal, you can't lose. Oh boy, can you lose, you know? We have the watch business here, of course. And you know, you never know whether something works or not until you try it. You actually have to do it first to see if it works or not, you know. Now, it's not only with a business, but it's with a product. And I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to show you 4 products tonight. Now, it's a little guessing game, okay? These are all things that the watchman sells. 2 of these are horrible flops, and 2 of them are fabulous successes. And you can guess to yourself what you think they would be. Look, here's a beautiful little Disney clock, Pocahontas, with the Disney movie Pocahontas. You know, you'd think everybody would want one of those, wouldn't you? Look at this beautiful watch right here. Isn't that nice? Boy, I think every woman in America would like that, wouldn't she? Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, look at this alarm clock with the little chicken pecker there. See that? Little chicken goes up and down. His head goes up and down here. Let me for our camera crew here. Come on. It's supposed to go up. There it is. There it is. See the little chicken? His little head's going up and down, right? This is a chicken pecker. We call it the chicken pecker alarm clock. These little chicken pecks. Chicken picks. I don't know. But anyway, there it is. Okay, that's item number 3. Okay, and here's item number 4. Look at this. This is the famous performance watch and tool set. Look at this for one price. By the way, these are all basically about the same price. They're all under $20. Okay, look at this. You get a nice set of tools with a watch. Our product manager, Diane, she's here tonight, and she knows which are the good ones and which are the bad ones, and don't you say. Okay, now you looked at all those things. Now, 2 of them are fabulous successes and sell like crazy, and 2 of them don't sell at all. The fact of the matter is that we have no idea in the watch business or the clock business or whatever business we're in what sells until you actually do it. Now, I'm going to tell you that of all of these, I've sold thousands of these, this watch right here. And you would look at it and you would say, well, you know, how well can it do? Okay? This little chicken pecker clock, I've sold thousands of those. You know, fabulous little clock. This thing here I bought, and I thought it would be terrific. I can't give it away. I've reduced the price on this so low that I almost pay people to buy it. You know, and yet it's a watch and a nice tool set. Gee, I'd like one of those myself, you know. I don't understand it. And Pocahontas, who wants Pocahontas? I don't know, maybe the movie didn't do so well, but boy, I can't sell those things. But, you know, the point I'm trying to make is you don't know until you try it. And we had an opportunity to go up to Fremont Street up in Las Vegas, and we opened a store up there, and it didn't work up there. But you know, you just have to do these things because you just don't know. And item number 4, okay, that was item number 3. Achieve great success by being right only 10% of the time. And the only way you know is you've got to go out and do it. Okay, number 4 is that time is your enemy, but speed is your friend. And that's why I said, you know, when you do these things and you have an idea, why wait? You know, people are always, the excuses that people will give not to do stuff. And believe me, I'm the same way when it comes to, I'm supposed to exercise daily, you know. And oh man, I can think of any reason. You know, I see a cloud about, 80 miles, it's going to rain today. I can't go out there, you know. I'll use any excuse in the world. Well, people are like that with businesses, you know. Well, it's not the right time. Wait till the kids go off to college. I mean, there's never the right time to do it. You know, if you get an idea, you just have to take action, and you have to do it. And you have to, and conversely, getting in it, you have to do it fast, but you've got to get out fast too, and you cannot wait. I have a good friend of mine in Phoenix, and I tell you what, he absolutely refuses to get out of a business. I will never go into business with this guy again because he refuses to get out of a business. And I've been in 3 businesses. You'd think I'd learned my lesson. See, I don't learn my lesson. I've been in 3 businesses with him. All 3 have failed, and after about a month, I've left every one of those businesses and said, I'm not going to put another dime in here. It's doomed. It's doomed, and he will keep on saying, oh, come on, just give it a little while longer. Just give it a little while longer. I'm not that kind of a guy to give it a little while longer. I've lost more money with this guy. He put so much money in it. And I want to tell you one other thing, and that is to start a business, never borrow money from friends or family, because that will keep you in a business longer than anything. Because your pride is at stake, and you want to show that person that you weren't a real dummy, that you want to get their money back for them, and you'll just stay in it, and you'll stay in it. If it's your own money, you say, hey, you know, I lost. Don't borrow money from friends and family, because you'll just stay in a business forever. So just what I say is, speed is your friend. You got to flop, get out, get out, get out. And get in fast, too, like I said. I can remember one of the fastest business starts that Mac and I ever had was in 1978. We had an idea to do Christmas shows around the country, and this was where we would go and we'd sell spaces to retailers, and then we would rent a civic hall or something, and they would come in and they would sell their products. And we had that idea at night. The next morning, I went down to Phoenix Civic Plaza and rented a space. That afternoon, I went down to the what's the name of the company, the decorating company, and said, well, now how do you do this thing? You know, here I am asking questions again. See, this is all part of it. Well, how do you do that thing? You know, you see the draped areas, and they have these pipes, you know, and people, they buy spaces. You know, I had to learn all about that stuff, see. Okay, so that thing. Then that evening, we met with our lawyer to draw up the contracts. Next day, we started a sales force. And I mean, within a week, this business was running. You know, we had a corporation formed, everything, because you don't want to waste time. Now, I must say that today I'm somewhat impatient because of the internet, you know, this great monster that we all know about. That finding people that know a lot about it and that can put you up on the internet and get you started on the internet and get you selling products on the internet. It's hard to find people who know what they're talking about, you know. And while I can, you know, start a business by going out and buying a suitcase and buying a whole bunch of watches and going over there on the corner of the street and opening up and putting a sign up and selling. I can do that in 3 hours. I can be open for business. With the internet, it's always, well, you know, we got to do this and we got to do that, and I got to call somebody and we got to contact this IPS and OPO and HTN, and I don't know what they're talking about, you know, so I get very impatient with that. Number 4 is time is your enemy, speed is your friend. Number 5, learn how to operate cheap and for free. Now, folks, when you start your business, you know, a lot of times you'll do the normal way. Now, the normal way is you go out and you decide you're going to rent a space in a shopping center. So you go out, you go to the real estate agent, you get a nice 5-year lease with a personal guarantee, and you've got a nice space in a shopping center. Then you go and you buy your merchandise from somebody, and of course he wants cash. He never saw you before, so he wants cash up front. Then if you want to be successful, of course, you have to do your advertising. So you go down to the radio station and you go to the newspaper and you buy advertising, see? So you've got all, that's the normal way to do business, you know, starting with that nice 5-year lease on the shopping center. Well, now, you know, folks, that's all well and good until after about 3 months you say, hey, this ain't going to work. And you're stuck with almost 5 years on a personal guarantee and a lease on a shopping center that you're going to be shelling out $1,500 a month, and you can't get out of it because the guy's got you, see. And the merchandise, you can't bring it back anymore. That's no good, you know, so you're stuck with selling that. And so, and the third, the advertising, of course, that's already gone. You've already paid for that. So, you know, you didn't plan for failure, see, and sometimes you have to, because like I said before, you don't know whether it's going to work or not. So therefore, you've got to be real clever when you start businesses. So when I say operate cheap and for free, I'm talking about, number 1, rent. How do you get rent? How do you get cheap and free rent? Well, primarily, and I've gotten it many times, by going to the owners of the shopping center, not the real estate agents, not anybody else, but the people who own the shopping centers, where they have spaces. They wanted to rent those spaces. And they had certain spaces that they just couldn't rent. And so they were real happy to have me come along and give them a percentage of my business, give them a little percentage of the action, or maybe I'd trade them out. I traded out a guy oil paintings. For instead of paying him cash rent every month, I'd give him so many oil paintings every month, you know. In merchandise, you can get merchandise for free. It's possible. Now, these are all things, this is not theory. These are all things that I've done, you know. Back in the 70s, I had a company called Southwest Merchandise Brokers, and I went to a fellow who was a wholesaler of clothing in California, and he had big warehouses full of clothes that he couldn't sell them. And so I went to him and I said, look, here's what I want you to do. I want you to load up a semi-truck full of that clothing every weekend, and I'm going to take it on the road, and I'm going to put it in a hotel ballroom, and I'm going to sell it. And for everything I sell, I'm going to give you half. Oh, he liked that. He said, but how do I don't even know. I never saw you before in my life. How am I going to do this? And I said, because I'm going to pay your truck driver to be there in the show to watch your merchandise. I'm going to pay him to do that. So every weekend, I would get $200,000 worth of merchandise for the payment of a truck driver to watch it, see? It's just a different way to do business. It's doing business for cheap and for free. What about advertising? Do you know how many radio stations that love trading out advertising? I do it all the time with local radio stations. You know, we trade them knives and we trade them watches and custom clocks and all kinds of stuff like that. So instead of paying the retail price for advertising, I'm paying what the merchandise costs me for the advertising. It's just a different way to do business, see? It's just a smart way to do business. And the key is to deal with the owners only. You cannot deal with employees because employees are afraid to make a decision in regard to everything, okay? Now, when Mac and I decided we were going to sell watches, you know, a lot of people think that, oh yeah, you must have known Don Laughlin for a long time. I didn't know Don Laughlin. I didn't even know what he looked like. Never did, never met him. And so, but I knew that there was only one place that I could come here on the river, and that was the Riverside, because it's the only place where the owner makes the decision. All the other places up here are all owned by corporate people, and they're all run by managers who are afraid of making an oddball decision and that maybe they're going to lose their job. Now, if my name was Gucci or one of those other fancy store names, they might have listened to me and said, oh, guess what? We can get a Gucci store here. Or guess what? We can have a real fancy name store. But, you know, the Watchman. Whoever heard of the Watchman? Who would ever decide to bring the Watchman in? Except a guy like Don Laughlin and Danny Laughlin. So, you know, you've got to deal with the owners on this sort of thing. And I'll tell you a secret, that the first 3 months that we were here, we didn't pay any rent. Because we did it just exactly like I'm telling you. That I told the Riverside that they would get a lot of advertising from us, and people would come in to go and buy our watches, and they would be the result of that, because they would come in to buy the watches, and then they'd stop in the casino and everything. And that's exactly what we did, and they were happy with it. We do pay rent now, by the way. But now we can, see? Number 6, control the money. You got to know where you are all the time when you have your own business, you know? Do I know where we are? Well, I'll tell you what, I know what our bank balance is every day. All our stores here at the Riverside, we have 6 stores here at the Riverside. They're all closed at 10 o'clock. By 11 o'clock every day, I know exactly how much money we've made in every store. That's very important. You have to know about the money. You have to know where you are always. You have to ask for the money up front if you're not in a cash business like we are. Mac and I were in the advertising agency business in Phoenix, and there were a lot of advertising agencies that went in and out of business while we were in business. And one of the main reasons was that in an advertising agency, you're responsible for your client's payment to the media for all advertising. So if you have a car dealer and you're doing advertising for them and the car dealer goes out of business, you're responsible for paying that. So we never were afraid of asking for money in advance for doing our work, while other people, they were afraid they were going to lose the client. We would rather not have the client, but we would always ask for it in advance. And when the money is there, grab it. If somebody calls you and says, I've got a check here, do you want to stop by and pick it up, or should I just put it in the mail? I'll be there in 5 minutes. You know, you don't wait. I'm the kind of guy that if somebody says, I'll give you $1 million at the end of the year or $10,000 today, I'll take the $10,000 today because I know I can get it today, see. At the end of the year, who knows? Control the money. Number 7, define your business to your customer again and again. You know, you can never say what you are enough. You just got to say it over and over and over again because you're the one that's going to define the business, you know. For example, I mean, there are great classic examples of this all throughout history, and they're bringing back the guy, you know, the don't squeeze the Charmin guy with the toilet paper. You know, I think that's great. I think that's really great because that was a great campaign, you know. Mac and I, we used to handle a car dealer in Phoenix, Earnhardt Ford. And we were the ones that came up with the slogan, "This ain't no bull," you know. And he has said it every time since then. I've run into Tex Earnhardt here in the Riverside a time or two, and he says, "Hey, you know, thanks for putting me on television because that really has made a difference." But you know, Earnhardt Ford, this ain't no bull, folks. And I mean, he just says it often enough. And the Watchman, we just want to say over and over again, we're the world's largest watch store. That's all. We get that. We say it down there. We just say it again and again and again and again. World's largest watch store, 20,000 watches, all under $20. And it really makes a difference. You know, you have to define your business to your customers. Don't let them do that. Number 8. Add to your success with experimental breeding. Okay, you know, let's say you're down here and you got that business right here, number 10, and boy, you're really hot stuff. You know, you think this is great. Well, I know the first thing I think about is, man, let's do it somewhere else, or let's do it again, or let's do it better, or more. You know. Okay, so now we're in the watch business in Laughlin, Nevada. What do? Well, let's open a watch store at a casino in Las Vegas. What a fabulous idea. Oh man, we pounded the pavement up in Las Vegas about 6 months after we started this here, you know, and we got into Stupak's Vegas World up in Las Vegas. You remember that old place? You know, and then they built the Stratosphere Tower there, and then they tore it down, and then we were out of there. But, and then we thought, oh boy, Lake Tahoe is going to be fabulous. We opened a store in Lake Tahoe. Real flop. Didn't work. Just didn't work. It didn't have the magic that our store in Laughlin did. We opened a store on the Strip in Las Vegas at the Holiday Inn Boardwalk, right on the Strip with all those people walking by. Flop. Couldn't work. We opened another store in Las Vegas on the Strip, a freestanding store. All those people walking by. It was a flop. Didn't work. You know, I tell you, we don't give up. See, but we're in and out real fast, you know, because if it works one day, it's going to work the next day. But if it doesn't work for a few days, you're gone. McCarran Airport. We had a store at McCarran Airport, you know. Well, first of all, when people come to town, they don't shop. And we discovered when they're leaving town, they don't shop either. So we were out of there. We opened up on Fremont Street. That didn't work either. Now, we have one other location, and that is we did open a store in Mesquite, at the Rancho Mesquite Casino, and it's a moderate success, so we kept that. But we decided, okay, if this isn't going to work somewhere else, what more can we do here at the Riverside that'll be successful? So instead of expanding to other markets, let's use other products here at the Riverside. So, you know, we opened the little ring store, we opened the Watchman Deluxe, the sunglasses, we put in pins, we got gold now, we got the perfume shop, and the Beanie Babies. And they all work. They all work. We go outside Laughlin, doesn't work. You know, it's hard to understand those things, but that's just the way it is. So there are various ways to expand. Sometimes it's within right where you are, just with adding different products. Okay, number 9, you got to be aware of everything that's going on in your place of business, about things and about people. You know, it's just like when you ask your kid, did you do your homework today? And he says, oh, yeah. You know, just by the fact that he said, yeah. You say, well, did you do your homework? Well, sort of. Well, exactly what did you do? Well, I opened the book. Did you really open the book? Well, no, but it's there on the table. Okay? You know, you have to learn to read your people and know if there's a problem of any kind, you know. And be aware of everything in your business. Look around, see what needs to be done every day. How can you improve your business every day? In the world, be aware of new trends and read a lot of magazines and look at television a lot. Listen to with the radio, on the internet. There's just all kinds of places that you can get information that will spark an idea in your mind that, gee, you know, that would be a good business, or gosh, I wonder if that would work here. You know, but you've got to always be open to new things and always pay attention to the media, because they will tell you what's good and what's not good. Watch other people's businesses and their advertising. The reason we got in the watch business here is because I happened to see an ad for another watch show in Phoenix, and I thought, I'm going to go to that and see if people are interested in buying watches. And when I went there and I saw all those people, I knew that we had a success. And very important is, be aware of your own shortcomings and limitations. Know thyself. And, you know, I know certain people that just, they think that they're more than they are, and it really can hurt if you think you can do certain things that you can't do. And I know my limitations. I'm a horrible manager, okay? I don't like to manage. I haven't got the patience to manage, but I am good at starting businesses, but I'm an awful manager. So therefore, when I start a business and it starts to get rolling, then you hire good people to manage for you, to do that, like Linda Welch, and like Diane, and like Beverly, who are all here tonight. They're good managers, see, because I can't do it. I haven't got the skill. They have the skills. I don't have the skills. So I know my shortcomings. Very important. And be real honest with yourself. Number 10, partnerships can mean power or punishment. You know, you can't do everything yourself, although sometimes you'd like to. And it's good to have somebody with an equal stake. Now, a lot of people, because I'm the only guy you see on television and all the advertising, they don't realize I have a partner. And sometimes when they find out I have a partner, they're kind of surprised by it. They say, well, why do you need a partner? Well, the fact of the matter is, I really don't need a partner, but I want a partner. And Mac and I have been partners on and off for many years. And you know why it works? It's because we are so different. Mac and I are very, very different people, and that's why we complement each other with what we do. Now, and we divide up the responsibilities. And we have a great deal of respect for each other and total honesty. Now, I've been in partners with other people, and believe me, this is the only partnership that has ever worked, is between Mac and I. Because you just have to have that total honesty, and you divide the responsibility up. And like, for example, in our deal, Mac is responsible for the personnel. He works with the personnel. I work with the advertising and the merchandise, you know, and it just works out really well. And I'll tell you one thing, when you have a partner, it makes failures really funny, because you always can go back and laugh at all the different things that you've done. And we had in our old office building in Phoenix, we had one big room that we called the Museum of Failed Businesses, because in there were all the old signs, all the old equipment and everything for all these things that we did that were just total bombs. And it really makes it funny, you know. So when you have a partner, it's fun because you can share with somebody that has an equal stake. Okay, number 11. Realize that you can't control human nature or Mother Nature. You know, there are some things in life that we have absolutely no control over, and we have to realize that. That's why communism didn't work. You know, what is there? Only one communist country left, and that's Cuba? You know, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work because it violates human nature. We had a company. It was called the Video Interview Employment Service. Boy, we thought we had a hot deal. And this was a thing that we had in Phoenix where people, prospective employees, would come in and we would tape them, videotape them, and then we'd have them all cataloged and everything. And employers then would contact us, and we would send them the tapes, so they wouldn't have. So it would take away it would remove the stigma of time that they would have to spend interviewing a lot of people, because it takes a lot of time to interview people. So all I had to do was look at the tapes then to see if they were interested in these people or not. Except for the fact that we had one big problem, and that is that human nature, people do not like to be on television. They don't like to sit there at a camera being interviewed. You know, it was a great idea, but people didn't like it. It went against human nature. See, you can't do that. It just didn't work. We were about 2.5 years ago, we had this big deal in Ohio where this big chain of stores wanted to carry all our rings like we have here at Ring-O-Rama, and it was really going to be a big deal. And boy, I just saw that money flashing in front of my eyes. And they were gonna put our rings in, you know, it was called, I think they're called Biggs Department Stores. I don't know if any of you are from Ohio, but and we had these display cases made, you know, and they were gonna bring the rings in and they were gonna sell them, and it was just gonna be fabulous. And oh boy, it was really a big deal. And they had like about 20 stores, and we were supposed to ship them out on Tuesday, and then the sale was gonna start on Friday in all their stores. And on Thursday they had a horrible flood. It flooded out all their stores. It was in southern Ohio, flooded out all their stores. They weren't even open, or they didn't get cleaned up for like about 3 weeks. Well, I mean, we had absolutely no control over that. You can't control Mother Nature. 3 weeks later, when they opened up the stores, the guy who was our contact in the store, who had approved all this, left his job. There was a new guy, and he didn't want to have anything to do with it. So we were cooked. We were done. We were finished, okay? About 20 years ago, I got a deal. Remember, I was telling you about the semi-trucks full of clothing, right, from the guy in California. And so we were preparing for summer, and we got about a half a semi-truck full of bathing suits. And this was in the end of March. And we brought them all in. Get ready for summer, folks. It's at the Albuquerque Fairgrounds. Big bathing suit sale. Wouldn't you know they had a fluke snowstorm that day? You know? Do you ever try to sell bathing suits in a snowstorm? It just can't be done. But you know what? You can't do anything about that. So you swallow hard and no whining. You know, you just go on. That's just the way it is. Number 12, always do what you say you're going to do. Keep your promises to everybody, especially here in Nevada where flakes are a dime a dozen. You know, where they see you coming here with an idea and they just, you know, they kind of laugh at you, you know, because there are just so many flakes around here. So you have to prove, you have to have a track record. And you get a track record by proving that you will do what you say. And that's not just to customers. Customers are always shocked to find that we really do have a guarantee and that we honor it. And if they have a problem with a watch, they can bring it back or send it back or whatever. And they know that, but the first time they don't believe that, you know, and we'll always get a letter accompanying the broken watch the first time. It'll say, you know, my husband says I'm a fool to send you this watch back because I know we only paid $13.97 for it, and undoubtedly you're not going to do anything, but okay, so call me a fool here, I'm going to send it to you. And I know I'm not going to give my money back or get it fixed, but here it is anyway, you know. And then we fix it and send it back in a couple of days, and the people are shocked. And they'll send us a letter back. Gee, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, you know, talk to you about that. You guys are really great. To your employees, say what you're going to do to your employees. To your suppliers, to your landlord. The landlord's very important, you know. I told you that the first 3 months that we were here, we actually had free rent here at the Riverside because we told them that we had radio time and we had television time contracted for, and we were going to make this a big deal. And so at the end of the 3 months, I went to the Laughlins and I said, okay, I just want to show you what I've done the last 3 months. Here's all the advertising we did. Here's all the newspaper. Here's all the television. Here's all the radio. I just want you to know that we did everything we said we were going to do. And they said we could stay. And of course they wanted to charge us rent after that, which was fine because then we had a success. But then about a year and a half later, they built the new tower over here. And they had extra retailing space here at the Riverside. And they came and they asked me, would you like some retailing space? You bet I would. And so we got a place for the Watchman Deluxe and a place for the rings. And why did we get that? Because we did what we said we were going to do. We weren't flaky. We promised what we were going to do, and we did it. So your reputation is absolutely critical. And number 13 is don't be afraid to have fun and always be generous. You know, you got to remember that you're not this isn't rocket science. We're not curing any diseases or bringing peace to the world. Whatever business we're in, we're only selling something, you know, like we're selling watches today. It used to be books, maybe it was oil paintings before that. But I mean, we're here to have fun. Nothing can be too serious. So always be generous in your pay and your benefits and never miss an opportunity to do good. I learned about 10 years ago, a very good friend of mine, a former business partner by the name of Monty Kobe in San Diego. I did a eulogy for him at his funeral. And I learned the important things of life during that eulogy because he was a successful businessman, but during that eulogy I didn't say anything about his business because at that point it wasn't important. It was the kind of person he was. It was how he treated people, what kind of respect he had for his customers and for his employees, what kind of a guy he was. That's what really counted. It wasn't the fact that he was a good businessman. So be kind to everybody. And that's the baker's dozen, Watchman style. Now, do you remember the two most important things I said today? Well, just to fix your memory up here again. Don't underestimate yourself. Remember the story of the fabulous lady right there, C.J. Walker. I couldn't carry her briefcase, folks. Don't underestimate yourself. She didn't, and you don't have to either. And number 2, you make a commitment. I will never work for anybody but myself, ever. You can be in business for yourself. Thank you very much.